Healing crystals, skincare routines, knitting a sweater, fitting in jeans. With Katie and Sarah, no need to worry, you're on a lady journey.
Lady journey.
You're back.
Lady journey.
We are back. We are well fed.
I had the most amazing little BLT.
BLTs, I think they get forgotten about.
Oh, I love them.
And then when you have them, you're like, I'll eat this every day. I go through phases of like, this is what I'll eat for 6 months straight.
Oh, I freaking love it. It's the savoriness of the bacon with the mayo, with the bread, with the onion, everything.
Yes. I think the mayo is the one that is the true star.
I love it. Yes.
Of the BLT.
The BLT is but a vessel for the mayo.
Now, what's your point of view or take on avocado in your sandwich?
You know what? I love a sandwich with avocado, and I do love avocado toast, but I don't like, the thing I like about a BLT, not a BLAT, not a blat, but I like a smashed down sandwich that doesn't get too thick.
Yes.
Because if I'm hurting my mouth, if I have to unhinge my jaw to fit the sandwich in my mouth, it's not going to be a good experience for me. So I like a more simpler sandwich. And the avocado, I think it just overly complicates it.
Yeah, and then it always kind of like slimes out.
Yeah.
And I hate a messy sandwich. There's times where I'm like, what is the point of eating this if it's just going to slop out?
Yes.
And then there are times like places I've been to like Carnegie Deli and Katz's Deli where they fill it up with like this much meat and little bread. You're like, how am I supposed to eat this?
Yeah, it's huge.
Am I doing this wrong? Why would you think anybody could eat it like this? Like, I just like a thin sandwich.
I like a thin sandwich. But the other thing about avocado is, especially in this economy, as we're going through the recession and inflation and the collapse, and then the avocados were banned or whatever. But the thing about avocados that I don't often love ordering them out is because, like, avocados are so expensive. So if an avocado is a little bad, they're not going to throw it away. They're just going to put it on your sandwich.
They're going to wait and see how you feel about
You're like, oh, this is not a fresh avocado. Like, it's a little bad. Like, at home, I get avocados at home all the time, and I have, little squish.
Yeah. I don't mind when it goes a little bad, but usually that's a guac avo.
Sure.
Put a little lime juice and mush it up. You don't even see the bad parts anymore.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, if I'm paying $80 for avocado toast, it better be good. It better be fresh as a daisy.
Yes. Also, I do think I like avocado, but most times when I get avocado toast, it's so overrated, and I think it's pretty bland the way they've prepped it.
Yes. Unless you have, like, so many special accoutrements, like pickled onions, like all that other stuff, fresh dill, capers, the salmon. It's like $20, really. It's not worth it. I make it at home for myself. I get my sourdough bread, which is, again, an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
I get the sourdough. I get the bread alone, which is a New York bakery. Bread alone. The sourdough bread, I've talked about it on the podcast before. If you haven't heard me talk about it, sourdough bread, you can eat it because it digests the sugar that they mostly have in bread.
I had no idea.
Super low glycemic. Like, you can eat, if you're on like a low sugar diet for whatever reason, I just, like, if I eat sugar, then I start like shoveling Oreos into my mouth. So it's this very slippery slope.
It's a drug.
And also I have my thing with candida ? So I'm really trying not to eat sugar, but sourdough is like the bread that you can have.
I love hearing this. This makes me feel good about my choices, as if I knew this all along. I knew it.
I'm a genius.
Yes.
I was drawn to it. But bread alone, though, it's the texture and flavor of the bread alone bread. It is so delicious. It's like $7 a loaf, mind you. But I don't mind paying it because last night I had one glass of wine, half an edible, and I ran into the grocery store at 10 p.m. to binge eat bread like a true rebel.
Yes. Well, I don't mind in that realm paying money for $7 of grocery store bread. Because you're like, I can't put stuff in it to make it stretch.
You can stretch it.
Almond toast is pretty great with bananas. That's a cheap meal. That's pretty filling.
And I know I'm going to share it with Mike. He'll have some. But the only thing about this bread is because one of the reasons it's so delicious, no preservatives. So you have about a week until it starts going, maybe less than a week.
And then it's what, bread pudding?
It gets moldy.
Ugh. But I put mine in the fridge. Is that bad?
Does that help it?
I feel like it lasts longer in the fridge.
Maybe I'll do that. Although we just have our mini fridge, which is kind of a pain. the bane of our existence.
I put my makeup in there.
Yeah. This is my secret. That's what every woman is doing now.
I know. You can buy these makeup fridges, and I'm like this. What are we doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Like this is so pointless.
It's so funny though too, because it's like your secret is just that you're spending thousands of dollars a week on your skin. This is my secret. I bought its own fridge. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I've had enough of it.
Definitely. Should we get down to our lady journeys?
I've been on a journey, and we kind of scratched the surface of this a little bit, but I was feeling I went on the road again, back-to-back weeks. I was in Seattle, then I was in Raleigh, and before then I was in Aruba, and before then I was in Atlantic City. So I had like a lot of back-to-back weeks on the road, and I was really like thinking to myself, like, I feel exhausted, I feel burnout, I feel afraid to slow down, but I also feel like I had no clarity in my life. And so I slowed down. I didn't really cancel some shows. I think I just didn't intentionally book some shows on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then I think I had like a Thursday show canceled. So I kind of slipped into like a little unintentional hermitage. And it was kind of like my last little grasp at hibernation before spring is like fully in flow. And it felt hard to me because it felt like I felt like I was kind of like stuck on the before picture of like the before and after picture, where it's like I always want to be the after, and I'm always working, and I'm always going for my dreams. And I was watching something recently that was like, if you're a person that has a hard time slowing down and you have a hard time resting because you feel like you should always be working, then the rest becomes the work.
Yes.
The rest is the work. So I was really trying, and meanwhile, I feel like I'm stuck at a point in my life where I can't move forward. Whether that's actually a reflection of reality or not remains to be seen.
Who knows?
Who can know? Yeah, I'm like, I'm just in my own mind, which feels like, I remember years ago I would be like, reality, of course it's subjective.
Yeah.
Like, of course it's like objective. Like we all know that purple is purple. That's the objective nature of reality. That it is what it is. And now I'm like, I have no idea if this person hates me. I have no idea if it's me inside my own mind. There's no clarity. And that's
and I have nothing to gauge.
I
don't know.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. You're like, who knows what realm we're in right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And especially with the vibe shift, it's like, what is, what's up, what's down? I have no idea. So I decided, and I just kind of really felt like giving into myself. I'm such like a introverted person. I'm always out pushing myself to be social, doing all the social stuff. And I just thought, when I did end up going back out, just giving into myself a little bit and being like, instead of forcing myself to hang out at the club, the Comedy Cellar, where, as you know, I work frequently, I go around the corner to the Olive Tree and I rub elbows with John Mulaney and wait for him to look over in my direction. But I just felt like, God, it's so exhausting doing that sometimes, especially like if you're going somewhere by yourself, you don't know who's going to be there, and it could be awkward, or, you're trying to make a new friend. And I just thought, you know what?
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And so I just gave myself permission for a little while there to just cut it the F loose, go exactly straight home, get in my little jammies, watch my shows, eat my foods, which is a bad habit, but I kind of don't even care. It's like, can I not just like coddle myself and do whatever I want? My bad habit is having like Snap Pea crisps.
You're so bad.
I'm so bad. I know.
You're a bad person.
I know. I'm like, am I a heroin addict? It's like so much type A behavior is just, we've been told for years and years that this is the way to get ahead, but it's actually like so detrimental to your well-being and to like any type of like creative endeavor.
Yes. I forgot there's a term of it just called, it's something slow something. And
slowing down to speed up, because that's what I was kind of
like
thinking I was doing.
Slow creating.
Oh.
Something meaning like I'm just a slow creator.
Yeah.
Where you still, and it's still more than most.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I always have to compare myself It's so weird.
Yeah.
A lot of times where I'm like, well, I'm doing better than most, but at the same time you're like, but I'm sometimes miserable. But I look forward to, I think there's nothing wrong to go doing your set and then coming home.
Just turning her straight around and just, it is a relief in a way. And I did it at another show where I just lied and said, I have another show.
Yeah.
And it was a Friday night. It was an early show. I just said, you know what? I have another show. I got up and then I just left immediately. And I just went home and I just thought, oh my God, I feel so relieved.
Yes.
I feel so relieved because going out, I was talking to somebody about this recently where I'm like, man, if I am really not a night person. And it is exhausting to be out night after night amongst the drunk 20-somethings.
Yes.
Trying to ply my trade of bits.
Well, like my going out now is like, I want to go to a restaurant. But usually we're always working at night, so we don't even get the luxury of that.
Yeah.
And then at the comedy clubs, it's really not your choice of who you're hanging out with.
Right, right.
And sometimes, like, there'll be a night where you go in and it's a big night. You got, again, Mulaney, Chris Rock, Chappelle stopping in, Amy's running a set. And you're like, it's hectic. It's crazy. Everyone's different. They're all like changing their energy.
Yes, yes.
So no one's like feeling genuine at the moment. And then also you never feel comfortable. It's like high school. It feels like where you're like, I don't know where to, I find myself being like this. Can I sit with you guys?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's like work. It's like, it would be like as though you were working in an office and then after work, to hang out, you just went back into the office and like hung out with everybody. And like, I mean, that would just be a nightmare. So it's like, there's no shame in us being like, it's actually not that fun. It's actually not that fun. I mean, granted, I love hanging out with comedians. And one of my favorite things to do is like go with a small group of comedians, like to a diner or something.
Yes,
you know?
that's my favorite. Or coordinating. I'll go look at some of the lineups and I'll see like, if you're on there, I'm like, are you coming in? Please,
yes. A little
please
anchor.
fucking come in at
a little
an hour
anchor.
early.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, one time I went there, I had our friend Isabel hang out with me, and then she had to run a set, but she was gone for an hour, so I was just sitting at the booth by myself.
Ugh, it's awkward.
That I was like, Isabel.
I know.
I look like a loser.
You're over there. And then, meanwhile, nobody who's not past there can go back to the booth, so they're just, like, waving to you from across the room. You're like, I can't come out. I'm one of the chosens in here.
If I leave, my seating will be gone, and I'll lose out my job to to a TV show.
Yes, a young upstart.
That you're like this, all right, I'll see you on the other side.
Yes, bye. But yeah, so it's kind of painful and hard to slow down, but I am like really trying to think of it as, you know, it also is a thing where it's like no one ever tells you like this is, and maybe they just don't know, like nobody ever by science is like, how many hours should we be working a day and how many hours can we actually be productive and how much does traveling actually wear you out and how much does like, you know, how much do you need to actually rest a week? So I've been trying to like also do a thing where instead of just like totally collapsing and just like laying on the couch and like spiraling, I'm doing constructive resting, which I read an article about where it was like, you need to actually do things that are restful for you. So you need to do like, even if you don't feel like stretching or working out on your day off or whatever, if that's something that makes you feel restful, then you need to push yourself to do it. Yeah. Instead of laying on the couch feeling bad.
Yes. Well, those moments, what I do is it's hard, but I make a conscious effort to not look at social media.
Yes, the social media and social
actually
media,
watch a TV show.
Yes. Yeah. Which is like that's
reading a book.
Yes, reading a book. I have been watching a great show. Have you heard of this show? It's not new, but it is on HBO Max. It's called I Hate Susie.
No, but
it's brilliant. Oh my God, it is so good. I have to get the word out about this.
I have HBO Max.
Yes, I heard of it from a comedian. You know, I'm always trying to find a new show. It's like the best feeling when you have a show to watch. And then when you have nothing, it's like, how can I unwind now?
I know.
I'm subjecting myself to The Tourist, which is nonsense.
Yes, I know. Well, right now I'm reading a book. I haven't read a book. No. And I love it, but it is something that I feel weird reading. It's about Columbine.
Oh, my goodness.
But you know what I mean?
We're a little bit of a light read.
Just relaxing at the beach while reading Columbine.
Yeah.
But I do find it cathartic because I find it really sad. So it's like giving me an emotional release. So thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes. But like reading, I think just like turning off this bullshit is important.
Yes. I think
I've gone to school shootings.
Yeah. Yes. I'm at the point where social media is so destructive that I'm relaxing by reading school shootings. But I think there's something to that actually, you know, doing these restful practices like having a physical book where you're like putting your phone in the other room, having a physical book, doing the deep stretching, which is such a, when you really are like tired and you don't feel like doing anything, like stretching's like the last thing you want to do. But I'm like, oh, this is one thing that actually makes me feel rested, makes me feel better.
Yeah. And you don't really have to exert yourself doing it.
Then like laying on, scrolling paradoxically seems like it would relax you. You're like looking for it to relax you, but it actually just makes you mentally ill.
I feel like I will hit a point 30 to 40 minutes of scrolling. I start getting anxiety.
Oh, I'm there 5 minutes in.
Yeah, where I'm like, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
I still am doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a really bad thing, but I definitely feel like watching TV is actually, I consider a healthy activity.
I do too. I really do too. Especially there's a lot of good TV right now. And if you can find a series that you really enjoy, it's the perfect thing to do to just decompress a little bit. Even having like a binge where you're engaged with something creatively to just take your mind off.
Yeah.
Just, I can't wait for Bridgerton to come out. It'll be out by the time this podcast airs, and I'm going to be
all
just balls deep. But yeah, so that's my journey that I'm on, as you know, as I'm kind of coming out of my hermitage, and you know what else I do? I do love Chani Nichols, Chani Nichols. I'm not sure what her name is, but she's an astrologer, and she gives these like astrology things of the week, and this week was Hermit, and I was like already kind of feeling it. I was like, wow, that's really affirmational for me to be like, oh, this is the card of the Hermit. That means I can stay in if I want to. And
you're like, thank you.
Thank you for giving me permission to be tired.
Well, I think that's why people really liked Bones Day.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, because he's like, you know what? It's a Bones Day. You got to stay in, turn on that, you know, TV show that you want to watch, get your comfortable blanket, or order that Greek food.
Yes. And that does feel like a vibe shift in terms of like, that's an attitude that's coming back. Whereas before, like the 2010s, it was like hustle boss culture,
bitch,
grind.
Lady boss.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to be a boss.
Yeah. I just want to be happy.
Yeah. I just want to be employed. Yeah. Please. I'm exhausted.
I know. Well, that's how I felt like when I was in Aruba. I was like, I think I would actually just be happy doing like one set a few times out of the week and then playing with my friends.
Yeah. Well, that's what Dave Chappelle's doing. I mean, he has us like fooled that he's like fucking running around like creating and doing genius shit. It's like, that's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing.
He's just chilling.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, and he's able to come up with specials doing that. So it's like, well, I mean, and I actually did feel so rested when I was going into the Hermitage. I felt rested, and I was going to shows, and instead of like forcing myself to like write for 2 hours a day, you know, even kind of like on empty, I was just chilling, going to the shows, and then actually, because I was so rested, I was able to more effortlessly come up with some creative stuff.
Yes.
Which feels so scary to let go of that, but it's like I have to look at the facts of like what's affecting my creative output, doing nothing and resting, or running myself into the ground, like doing 1,000 joke writing exercises, which I'm also not doing, but
yeah. But you got like trying to squeeze out something you're never going to get. You know what I mean? Like anytime someone's like, that's why I don't really like doing high pressure shows.
Yeah.
Cause you're like, it does not make me feel funny.
Yeah.
And it makes me miserable.
It shuts down the creativity.
It does. So I feel like when you just take a moment to be like, the idea of sitting down and forcing out a joke is awful. And I don't even think it's that funny. Yeah. And sometimes I can watch on stage and be like, I can tell that that's just somebody that wrote down, and it seems clever, but it's not fun.
Yes, it's lacking that organic quality.
That I feel like going to play or socialize or even watching TV. I write bits from TV shows.
The playful,
or sketches.
Yeah, the playful mindset is everything. The playful mindset is so much more valuable than even like a skill set of understanding comedy.
Yeah.
And that playful mindset is something that's so abstract, and it's like it's hard to like actually get to.
Oh yeah, I know for this year my resolution was actually I just want to have more fun.
Just have fun. And that's in any context, and socially, you know, and I think feeling rested is a big part of getting able to get into that playful mindset. Yeah,
and then also I also try to attribute to like stuff that when it bothers me, like how can I make this fun?
Yes.
Rather than being taking it so personally that it's actually ruining my mental health.
Yeah. Anger is a good voice to write from too. If you can find the playful voice within the anger instead of letting it like shut you down.
Yeah, where I'm like, fuck you.
I know. I just internalize it. I'm like, I hate myself.
Where you're like, you could actually turn that into
Lewis Black. That's his whole thing. Shouting at the crowd.
Well, like, have you ever like? It's weird. You do a bit and you feel like it made the room tense, but a lot of times you can use that tension if you don't take it personally.
Yes, yeah.
You can use that time and tension that you've just built up and you can deflect it so fast and it'll be like the best laugh that you've had.
Yeah, and when you're like feeling rested, you're so much able to get into that flow state. Like if you're like run down and stuff like that happens, it's just like the way your reaction time is so delayed.
Oh yeah, and anytime that I'm like taking myself too seriously, like nothing fun is coming out. It is what you're like, I hate myself, or you're like, you don't know what you're talking about, and then I'm just like this emotional weirdo.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like this, all right, whatever, like. Sometimes I think about like if somebody yells out, "You suck," and be like, "Well, yeah, at this moment I do." Like,
yeah.
The ability to not internalize that and just have fun rather than being like, "This is my art and you don't get it."
Yeah. Well, I did read somewhere that having time alone, having downtime alone, is like actually super important for maintaining emotional stability. And I wonder if it has something to do with that, because I was thinking about that just from my own perspective of like, I don't have that much downtime, but before I lived with Mike, I would have like a lot of time by myself where it's like, sometimes I'm literally just like sitting in a darkened room, like staring at the wall. And that seems like it seems like strange, but it's like, that's what I need to like not overreact in like situations where it's like, you know, you're rushing around and then someone triggers you and you're like, ah! And you're like, oh my God, I'm in CVS. And I've just ruined a child's day.
Or you just become one of those viral Karens.
Yeah.
And you're like, if you only just like took a little breather.
If you just take a breather. That's our message for today.
That is one of my fears, is to not expect that you turn into a viral Karen. You're like, I had no idea that I would just be this way today.
Well, sometimes with like mood swings and stuff, you know, you just like get a really ugly mood out of nowhere, and it's like you need to not be in public, and yet you are. And you're like, someone just looked into my eyes. And it's so hard. I mean, it's so hard. Like, I've had weird like hiccups on the train where somebody like bumps into me and doesn't say anything, and I've just like been like, oh my God, I almost just got in a train fight with someone, I guess. Yeah. I guess I almost just fought someone on the train.
We're like, if you just took a moment to like, I don't know, take a day off and rest.
Just rest yourself. God, it's worth it.
Well, yeah. It's
or in my case, like a full week.
Yeah.
Basically.
Oh my God. But I do look forward to those. But every now and then I realize I've hit a tipping point where I've turned into like an unsafe
ruster
where I'm like, I think I'm isolating.
Yes, that's the other side of it that's really scary.
It's like too much of anything is bad.
Because I did end up kind of actually going into like a pretty dark place where it was like I was resting and I was tired, but I still felt like a failure because I wasn't like masking it with my workaholism.
Yeah.
But then eventually I ended up just getting so mad at myself that I just started forcing myself to go back to my routine and just do it to just kind of like distract myself from like the feelings that I was having. And it's like, I know that feeling. I have issues with isolating too, where it's like you just don't, and it's better now that I live with my boyfriend, but it's like you just don't want to talk to anybody, and then you start becoming detached from reality.
Yes, and I can feel it when the first spot back after a serious isolation, I'm always like, I don't know how to respond to people.
Yeah, people are like, hi. You're like, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
That's why like sometimes it's funny, like Ryan Hamilton's joke about like, you guys are the first people I've talked today when he's on stage, that you're just like, it is psychotic as a stand-up. You can go all day without talking to one soul, and then the next thing you have to do is you have to make 150 or more people laugh. And you're like, is this right?
You got to warm up.
Yeah,
you got to warm it up.
I do say being social, you have to practice at it.
You kind of do. And you also have to, like, if you're somebody who has like a problem with isolating, which I have always had because of my social anxiety, I'm like, okay, it's like easier for me to just never push myself. But you do have to kind of, if you notice that that's happening, you have to like push yourself to be like, I'm going to text one friend today.
Yeah, just
Even
reach
though,
out.
just text one friend, just make one little thing that you have to do, because once you get to that place where you're isolating, it's like a slippery slope. And then you're like developing full on agoraphobia and you're like, I can't, you're like going to the grocery store in your pajamas and you're like, hello, you know?
Yeah, I always feel like even just doing like taking a shower, putting makeup on and putting on my favorite outfit.
Oh, just put on some yoga pants and go for a walk.
And that's
text
really
one
what
friend.
You need. Yeah, that's really what you just need to do to kickstart yourself.
You kind of do. And I did read that somewhere where as I'm always like struggling, I'm like reading internet self-help articles. I'm like, I'm going to pull myself out of this by reading the first sentences of this article. I'm reading like 5 sentences. I'm like going to the next one. But I did. And that was why I kind of like just started angrily forcing myself to go through my routine. Because I think you get, especially when you're trying any creative pursuit, or as a woman when you're trying to like go forward and you meet rejection and you meet resistance, it's so easy to like, it's so hard, and it's easy to like, and not even as a woman, just as a person in general trying to like go ahead in your life. When you meet resistance and rejection repeatedly, it just is easy to feel like nothing I ever do matters, and I don't want to get my hopes up because I'm just going to fail again. So it's like, why am I even going to try? And that's like such a bad place to be in. And it's also not a clear indication of what reality is.
Yes, you've gone mad.
You've gone mad. It's more likely that you need to rest, then force yourself to get back to the routine. Text a friend, put on a damn sweater.
Yes. The new advice I like that's been going on TikTok is just be delusional.
Ugh, just be delusional.
Be delusional.
It's actually helpful. It's actually helpful.
Just pretend you are the shit.
And just pretend that things are going well, and then you'll be like, oh, actually things aren't that bad.
There is truth behind like fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your journey that you're on this week?
Well, I haven't started it yet, but I can feel it in my bones. This is my new.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it when you can feel it's a change in the wind.
A shift is happening. I'm already pinning on my board the things I want. I'm thinking about becoming like kind of eco-friendly.
Oh, yes.
A lot more in my life.
I love it.
I'm thinking about getting dish soap that's a hard soap and a bamboo thing and then a natural bristle.
Yes.
And that's how I'm going to do my dishes.
Yes.
I'm really into that beeswax paper that you can use to mold over your containers.
Yes.
To keep, or your cheeses.
Love it.
And I reuse those. You can reuse those several times. Like I kind of lightly wash them.
Yeah.
And they still keep their tack. So I like that kind of stuff. I really, I'm trying to get rid of plastic, but it's really hard.
It is hard.
As we drink, like we've been into the liquid death because it's cans.
And now what's the benefit? Is cans are better than plastic?
Yeah, I think because it's actually made from an actual metal source from Earth that's not processed too much.
They're not like creating a weird new thing.
Well, yeah, like, and you can reuse these. These are actually recyclable. From what I've heard, even though we sort our plastics, from what I've gathered, most plastics that we're sorting, I'm going to say 90%. I'm going to just throw that number out there with no research.
Okay.
Is not really recyclable. Like they can't do anything with it.
Well, I know that they were having issues because I think what we were doing was the United States was taking all the recycled plastic and then they were just giving it to China. And then, yeah, like they were recycling it and China's like, no more. We're not just taking your plastic anymore. So it's like, oh, and I did read something a while back that plastic actually takes more energy to recycle than it does to throw it away. So it's like you're burning carbon either way.
Yeah, it's such a bummer.
Yeah.
When you find that out.
I want to jump on the eco bandwagon too. I mean, it's such like a lifestyle shift that you want to get into, and it's so fun to make it an element of your personality.
Absolutely agree.
Why even do it then if you can't talk about it and make it everything about you?
Absolutely, like fit it in lightly into conversations. Like if I could, this is actually the fantasy that I want for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I want to create one of those like self-contained ecosystems where you catch the rainwater. It like feeds, you can purify it yourself, and then some of it will water your natural garden that you can actually eat from, and that it feeds some of your little livestock like chickens and stuff like that.
Wow.
But I want to, that's the life that I fantasize for myself.
Full cottagecore.
Going full cottagecore. I also actually fantasize of living in a world where my rhythm, what is that called? Akkadian rhythm?
Oh, the circadian rhythm.
Yeah, Akkadian's like Cajun. Is like no electricity, like going to bed at night when it's sun night out, and like no TV or anything that we have to read or like play games and entertain each other.
You are on a moon woman journey. You're on a fully moon woman journey.
This is the fantasy that I want for myself. Now to get Joe involved, it's a whole other story.
Yeah.
And he, you know what's so funny? It's like he's so scared of climate, and climate doesn't really bother me that much. Climate change. Mm-hmm. I know it's out there, but in my mindset, I'm like, there is nothing we can do.
Well, there isn't anything that we can do as one person. I mean, it's like, I guess you can try to hold your political representative accountable, but the system is pretty corrupt. And also, you know, we're like living in the city. We're not the problem.
Yeah.
But you know what you can do? Post a meme.
Post a meme. I can always.
I love it. I love posting a self-righteous meme.
When in doubt,
climate.
Post a meme. Well, because, like, it gets complicated, too, because, like, was it you that was telling me, like, Leonardo DiCaprio is, like, flying to India where they have a water drought? You know,
he was flying his private jet to India to confront them about their, like, use of electricity.
I love celebrities. They're out of their goddamn mind. It's so, like...
He's like, I'm helping.
Yeah, you're like...
Like, you're flying in a private plane. Stop flying that plane.
Yeah, get out of the plane.
Helping.
Yeah. At least get on a boat or something.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, telling third world countries that they need to, like, work on their pollution is another thing that, like, we have no right doing that. And they have their own kind of economy that's also a shit show.
And it's like they deserve to have, they have 330 million people without power. With no electricity in India. It's like those people deserve to be able to have electricity.
Yeah.
Like they shouldn't just never get it. Like, that's crazy to be like, it's classist, you know?
It is. It's insane. But it's like stuff like that. So I do so it's never bothered me, but Joe is like, he drinks plastic all the time. And I was like, I'm like, it's hard. I do have this there. At first I was like, the way to reduce pollution is just get rid of men. But then I forgot about how much plastic we consume in the makeup industry.
Yes, there's a lot of, but I try to buy stuff in glass.
Yes.
I try to buy glass, but yeah, I mean, there's so much plastic, and makeup in general, the makeup industry is just toxic and huge. I mean, it's like all the chemicals and stuff that they're using is so much processing.
Yeah, it's that part. And then also fast fashion, apparently, like,
fast fashion. It's like, forget it.
Africa can't even keep up with the amount of shit that we're just throwing out over there. We're like, here, you guys take it.
Yeah.
So it's insane. So I try not to, again, thrifting, even though
thrifting. But see, I do think like and I was being like a little facetious earlier, but I do think that when you have a crunchy lifestyle and you make it part of your lifestyle interest where you're like, ooh, I'm going to buy this flask because yes, it saves the earth, but also I love it. And aesthetically, it's very pleasing to me.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is something to that where it's like, if you're going to spend money on stuff, it might as well be stuff that you like. And then on top of it, saving the world.
Yeah. Well, no, I totally agree. But then I saw a TikTok talking about this, and I thought it was kind of fascinating about you can be too crunchy.
Really? Over crunching.
Well, meaning in the way of like, it's obnoxious to force your
certainly
views, and I agree because I like as much as I try not to eat meat, I get annoyed when I get preached about eating
but
meat.
you
I don't know
hate
what
that
that
type of
is.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, where you're like, you got to let people kind of, I think with information that we get, we will eventually change.
Let people come to it on their own. But it's also like, you don't know like what that, also no one is totally guiltless. You know, it's like,
absolutely,
you could be that person. And so there's no way to do that without being a total hypocrite because everybody has a carbon footprint.
Yes. I mean,
even
as
if you're
said,
like, like never showering, never wearing deodorant, like even if you're like living in the woods, like you've still taken a flight in your life. Okay. Let's not pretend that you didn't go to Paris for your engagement or whatever.
Well, like also what's weird about some of those people that are too crunchy is what, like that guy that lived in the woods in Maine for like 15 years in isolation. He's basically like, we're doing the bad stuff. And so he would take people's food or whatever was left on their, whatever they were using. You're like, oh, so you're using us to do the dirty work for you.
Right.
We're like, I remember Joe lived with a roommate that was extra crunchy and didn't believe in flushing the toilet every time he went to the bathroom. But what would end up happening is that the roommates would be like, ew, flush.
So you wouldn't flush a number 2?
No. So what would happen is that they were like, you're just making us flush your shit.
Yeah, you're just outsourcing to us so you can pretend to be crunchy and leave your big doo-doo in the toilet. That is psychotic roommate behavior.
I know. Well, the theory with the too crunchy that I thought was fascinating is that they put it in the world of, I would maybe compare it to the eating disorder world of, it's a form of control.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you're having control. You feel as though you're out of control in your life, so you're trying to control all these different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a really fascinating take because there are people that I've met that I would categorize too crunchy, and I do think they are exhibiting control issues. Because that's the thing you kind of have to worry about with any of this stuff. You're like, am I doing this for like showmanship?
Yeah. I mean, I'm into it. Yeah. Like, hello world. I'm into it like as a lifestyle because I just think like there's no reason that you can't do stuff and also enjoy it and kind of take pleasure in this crunchy lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think that only makes it more accessible to people, and it only makes it like a form of self-love. You know, I'm going to buy myself this amazing flask because it's good for me and I like it.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. But I do think that, like, again, if you're pushing it, you're still a hypocrite because we're all still contributing. By being alive, you are contributing to global warming. You understand that, right? Like, so.
Yeah, there's no way around it. We all are going to die. So, like, just trying to make this nice for everybody. But I really do get annoyed how much plastic we're going through.
The plastic, you know what? You are making me rethink my use of plastic because I get like a lot of stuff in the store in plastic. I do want to do better. I want to do better with the plastic.
Well, like for my bathrooms, I've resorted to the hand soaps that come in cardboard boxes rather
I do use
than
those,
like the plastic
the Dove,
pumps.
yeah.
And I've seen some really great products lately, like glassware hand soap, but you just drop a tablet into the water and it creates a foamy hand soap, so you never have to.
That's great.
Keep buying plastic. So I think there are a lot of great options that you can do without being too crunchy.
There's great
because you can, and it's also elitist. A lot of that shit.
A lot of it is really expensive.
It is like I know getting a natural brush to wash my dishes that's wood and metal, you're like, that's probably gonna cost me $20, where most people would rather just buy like all those plastic rubbery sponges.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is a little bit elitist, but also, you know, it's elitist in a way of like time and energy too. It's like, you know, like a single mom who's like running around, you know, working 9 to 5, trying to take care of her kids. Like, she has to do disposable stuff, you know?
Absolutely. Like, where does she have time to like hang up all of her clothes outside and not
right.
Yeah, like
wash it in the sink? Like, no. But, you know, my our friend Ryan Beck, he had a baby, and he is using a diaper service. I don't know what the name of it is, but I'm sure you can Google it. It's a drop-off diaper service in Brooklyn where they're using cloth diapers. So basically, like...
That's amazing. I've always wondered how they do that with cleaning shit.
Yeah, I think, like, basically... He said because the baby's little, he doesn't take, like, huge dumps yet.
And they're not emotional dumps?
Yeah.
You're like, they're angry.
Yeah. So he said he kind of just scoops it in the toilet. They put them in a bag, and then the service picks them up, and then they drop off clean ones. And it's like, I mean, how efficient is that? It sounds like that's, number one, better for the environment, and it's probably about the same as diapers are, like, notoriously expensive.
Oh, yeah. I think they're one of the worst things for biodegrading.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it is such a bummer when you're like swimming in the ocean and you just see an old one just on the bottom of the floor.
It's so devastating to see that.
You're
just
know.
Like, ugh.
It's depressing. I also get like bummed when I know about that big trash island.
The Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Yeah.
I think they did start fixing it, though.
I hope so.
It was a scientist. I remember he found a way that they are able to start fixing it.
Okay. Well, see?
Yeah.
Things are getting better.
Well, who knows? Don't want to put a damper on it, but
who knows?
And when in doubt, just blame China. Say, I can't do anything because China is really doing something over there, and I don't know what they're doing. But
I keep buying it.
It's fine for me to fly. I'm taking a vacation.
Well, that's like the other thing. They're like, you can do all you want, but when Kylie Jenner flies to Vegas with all of her friends on a jet, it just wipes out everything.
Yeah, private jets are not good.
It's crazy.
Good.
Speaking of, I'm wondering if flights are going to go up in price because of gas.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
I did not think of that.
I know. It's made me wonder when I start booking gigs.
Yeah, that's
for
a bummer.
Like, should I wait till you get the ticket later?
Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe keep your eye on it.
Knows?
The best time to book flights is always about 6 weeks before, I read.
Okay.
That's when you're supposed to start watching.
I did that. This is probably a huge left turn. I did that a few months. Like, I did that for my Chicago gig, and because of times inflation was hitting hard for 1 month, tickets were really high then, and I was like, I wondered if I should have waited.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
Who knows?
It's really hard to know, but like I think about 6 to 5 weeks is usually the best, and then it starts hiking from there. So that's when I always try to get it.
Good to know.
Anyway, Lady Journey. Thanks
Lady
for
Journey.
listening.